3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, granitegrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from granitegrok.com.
Grok Talk.
Good morning. Memorial Day weekend. Make sure everybody's mics are on, including Mike. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Mic check.
Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. I'm busy checking to see why I'm not broadcasting, because I'm not, for some strange reason. And so we have a lot going on today, aside from the fact that the audio stream's not up yet. That's not going on yet. But it is Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people are out. A lot of people are going to picnics and parties and having fun. Let's all remember why we have Monday off, please. Today on the show, Doug Sackleben from Club for Growth will be joining us to talk about Mike Huckabee's tax record. We also, of course, have Jane Cormier here already. We're going to have Ed Nail in. We're going to have Kimberly Morin in. We're going to talk about a wide range of subjects, including the recent special election that Yvonne Dean Bailey won,
Yay!
Carl Gibson getting arrested, probably a little FEC violation news, and the Balsam's boondoggle was signed into law, and so we'll be talking about that a little bit. We had some Scott Walker video posted up at granitegrok.com this week. All kinds of things going on.
And the grin on the face of our governatrix as she signed it was what puts the ass in asinine when you've got a donkey in the chair. I mean, I have never seen a grin like that in my life.
Yeah.
In that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty excited. She was pretty excited. So, Mike and Jane, start having a conversation while I play with my audio problem here.
Have conversation.
Have
my
a
goodness.
conversation.
Okay, so we've got a stall here for time. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, you can just start the show. I mean, that's what you're here for, right?
So, as you say,
I'm supposedly
so much going
broadcasting,
on,
and I don't appear to be.
So much going on this week, Steve, as always. Let me see. The fall of Ramadi, another success story of the American foreign policy under our leadership from behind.
So sad.
So sad. I mean, basically there are two forces wrestling for control of most of Iraqi territory, and we aren't one of them.
No.
That is Iran, whose puppet government in Baghdad will let them come in whenever it's in their interests, and ISIS, who basically wants to control everything in the Middle East, and who, by the way, just drove their tanks across hundreds of miles of open desert to seize an archaeological site, not even a real city, just so they could say they had it. And, of course, their record of preservation of antiquities is not great, to say the least.
You're kidding.
In fact, there seems to be something about the Islamic extremists, the jihadis of the last 20 years. The only history they have any respect for is their religion as it was born in the 7th century. Anything older than that can't exist per se, and they call Christians peculiar.
Yeah.
And they absolutely have no respect for any other religion, and they have been destroying Buddhist shrines, ancient sites in Iraq, and, well, we just fear for the... I'm trying to remember, is it Nineveh? Nineveh. I forget which city it is in Syria that they just took control of. But again, there's no reason to be there except to put a pin in the map.
No, and it's also a way for them to use their power because they know that does strike the heartstrings of those that understand what history is all about when they can go in there and just destroy it. So it empowers their fear campaign, and they're trying to get press, and they do it any way that they can. It's really sad. I often think about in this whole situation in the Middle East. I was never one that completely bought into the scenario that Obama was actively promoting this. Right? I was in the mindset that, boy, misguided and living in his own world. As time goes by, and you look has happened since he has taken office, how we have lost everything. Piece by piece, every battle that was won, every city that was won, and how it's just fallen to the wayside, and the bad guys are there again.
Right.
You have to wonder.
Is it simply a case of being the unbush, or is it something
more?
Something more than that, and actually choosing to cause chaos? Because there's a difference between getting out of the places that Bush went into because you're the unbush,
right,
and actually actively fomenting trouble, as we did in Libya, as we did in Egypt. I mean, we have toppled governments with bad results.
Right.
There was no thought-out plan. They said Bush didn't have an end game in Iraq. But at least it involved keeping the peace and stopping the factions from murdering each other, and that's a very far cry from what we have now.
Right. Well, how do you even explain, in any kind of common sense way, the release of those 5 heinous terrorists for Bergdahl? That, to me, was kind of a turning point, because those 5 men had so much blood on their hands. How do you even get to the point, like you said, unbushing it, right? Having that mentality to allow those 5 demons to go for our man that left his patriot, left his comrades to go off and do his own thing, and ultimately killing, his own members of his team. What is that? So, there's a big question mark here. And isn't it funny how that line has now moved to the point where what was once kind of a crazy right-wing theory, that our president was actually working with these jihadists, to the point where now you have a lot of factual basis to not even, to go past inquiry of it. This backing it up.
It's extremely bad. And it's certainly... Well, if we assume that he's working to some grand socialist design as opposed to simply bumbling along, you just have to wonder what that design is.
Yes.
And
there is all the fear. There's all the fear that regular folk have about the insecurity of what's happening, because then you see stupid stuff like the Jade Helm that's being put out there. Not stupid, but I mean, you see that happening with the background of how he seems to have more than no plan for the Middle East, and you start wondering, what is this president up to? What's he thinking?
And you have to wonder. The police gets more and more militarized, and then at the same time demonized for daring to try and enforce law and order in difficult circumstances.
Yes.
So that makes the police necessarily very nervous, and
as it should.
Well, yes, but it's also likely to result in overreaction if they're confronted at any point, because they feel that they've got no friends.
Now, to me, that whole situation, the police ought to really wake up to this, because when he was first put in office, and he had that weird comment that he made about how we had to have another force, another military force, a police force that was independently, financed and as strong as our, military. That was the opening salvo in my mind. Look at what he has done. This divisiveness of taking our community policing, right, and turning the people against the community policing, in his mind, I believe, is leaving the vacuum to where then the militarized police that he's behind will come in and take that spot. To me, there's no doubt in my mind that divisiveness again was used as a way to make that gulf, so that again the progressive mindset that
Well, we're a long way from the Middle East now, Jane, but in fact, that's really we're almost at the point of, are we trying to turn the U.S. into a war zone?
There it is.
The Constitution is extremely clear and specific on not having troops, inside the U.S. in peacetime. And effectively, we have troops exercising in our cities.
Yeah.
Whether the aims are innocent or not doesn't matter. It gives people a bad feeling, and no wonder the governor of Texas is taking steps to monitor the exercise and ensure that no constitutional rights are violated.
And look how they're mocking him for that, right? Look how the media is mocking that, because you know what? This, whether he meant it or not, these days I have a big I just doubt everything any politician says. It's a bad thing. But even if he just did it for constituents to feel more secure with that, at least somebody's listening to them. Yeah. Good for him. But isn't it a sad case? You said that we're far from the politics of the Middle East, and my premise is that with this sitting president, I don't know if that's true, because you simply can believe nothing about how this man goes forward.
You know, I mean, it's said that you lose the argument automatically if you refer to Hitler, but despotic regimes through history have always tried to centralize power to override the local institutions that run civil society, and to get to a point where there is no form of organized opposition. So, you know, they're militarizing the police and making the police feel embattled, which is not going to be good if, as I say, the police ever end up with their backs against the wall. It will end badly for the police and the citizens.
Absolutely.
And in addition, he's fomenting trouble by the way he carefully chooses his words. He doesn't try and make things calmer. He tries to imply that the police are part of the problem, where in many cases they're not. I mean, young thugs are young thugs, and young thugs on welfare and with poor education tend to be like this. And you know, we had the same problem in Britain in the housing projects with people on welfare. They may have been white, some of them shaved their heads, but the bottom line is they were thugs because they had no intention of earning anything. They simply wanted to either have it given to them, or if that wasn't enough, they'd go take it. And this is what you see.
Well, see, they even have taken the word thug, though, right? Because if you say thug now, you're a racist, right? I mean, even thug has a color.
Shall we coin a word, thugger?
I don't know what you could say anymore.
Thugga. That's
thugger.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
Who knows?
Baltimore kids with attitude.
Yeah. Or kids anywhere. I mean, yeah.
I mean, come on. They can call anything racist.
They do.
There are hundreds of thousands of black people living in Baltimore, and most of these people want to live a peaceful life. They would love to be able to defend themselves, although Baltimore is one of those places where it's hard to arrange self-defense.
Of course.
And they don't want their property damaged, and some of them are business owners, and they don't want their businesses damaged, and they would like to see the bad apples punished too.
Yeah.
You know, I made a radical suggestion a few weeks back. Let's arm all the long-term residents over the age 40 in Baltimore.
Oh my!
And let's see how long the criminal element lasts.
That's interesting.
I reckon you'll have one morning where you'll need a big cleanup and no trouble after that.
Oh my!